Live 5 News starts now with First Alert Weather, Irma Aftermath.
Right now, the Lowcountry is recovering after Tropical Storm Irma made its way through South Carolina. Much of the Lowcountry saw heavy wind and rain and, boy, a lot of flooding.
And you can see we have team coverage all across the Lowcountry right now with the very latest on the recovery efforts. Brad Stryker is downtown. Sydney Ryan is in Georgetown. Harv Jacobs in Ladson. Alexis Simmons on Edisto. Colby Satterfield in West Ashley. Chad Mills is on I-26.
We have them all over,
yes,
Debbie.
We do.
But first, this is the man, our chief meteorologist, Bill Walsh, in the First Alert Weather Center. You got some new information, Bill, on different stories we're watching right now, especially on this other hurricane, Jose.
Yeah, good news, although at this hour, Bill and Debbie, as we continue to watch Jose, kind of a disorganized storm, getting a lot of wind shear from this, and that's good news. We don't want to see this thing increase in intensity, and actually tough to find the center, but right about there, well to the northeast of the Bahamas. As we get a little bit closer, you can see the storm is not as organized as it could be. As we take a look at the current numbers of Jose, still well out there as Category 1 hurricane at 27.6 north, 67.4 west, 987 on the pressure. The good news at this hour, both the European and the GFS continue trend to keep it away from the United States as we head into Thursday, Friday, and Saturday as a recurving storm staying out to sea. That certainly is good news. Looks like there's going to be a bit of a break between two areas of high pressure, and intensity keeps it at a 1. Although, looking at some of the discussions and some of the CDO over the storm right now, the Central Dense Overcast, the energy source, looks like it may even increase a little bit, and that's at least my thinking as it continues over some pretty warm water out here, and maybe a little less shear, but bottom line is at this point and at this hour, it looks like it's going to continue to push off to the northeast. Now, we'll continue to watch this each and every time. Watch us on Facebook as well. Follow us there. We'll take no more hurricanes. We'd like to see that, but we'll watch Jose and keep you posted with First Alert Weather. Back to you guys.
Thank you, Bill. Right now, several school districts plan to reopen tomorrow as usual. Beaufort, Berkeley, DD2, Dorchester District 2 and District 4, and Georgetown schools will all be open as normal tomorrow. However, Charleston County School District will reopen tomorrow as well, except for West Ashley Head Start and Minnie Hughes. They will not reopen tomorrow. Colleton County will operate on a 2-hour delay tomorrow. Williamsburg schools will remain closed through tomorrow.
And right now, downtown Charleston trying to recover after intense flooding and storm surge from Irma. A lot of folks saw knee-deep water near the Battery and Waterfront Park. Brad Stryker is downtown right now. Brad, how are you finding things there?
Lots of flooding still downtown, Debbie. I'm actually on the intersection of Broad and Chisholm Street right now. If you take a look to my right-hand side, you can see some of that deep water that you were just talking about. Now, a lot of police crews have actually set up stations, barricades rather, right here along different intersections in different areas across the Lowcountry and across the downtown Charleston area. They're still blocking a lot of people from going onto certain roads because, like I said, it is still flooded in a lot of areas out here. Now, any place that you don't see flooding or big puddles, you're most likely going to find a lot of debris, and that's what a lot of crews are continuing to try to clean up tonight. Now, coming up tonight at 6, I'm going to be speaking with somebody who actually had their home flood from this big storm. But even before that, they've had this experience before. For now, live in downtown Charleston, I'm Brad Stryker, Live 5 News.
Thank you, Brad. Right now, many areas across the Lowcountry are still trying to dry out. This video from Sky Tracker 5. It's of Shadow Moss, a neighborhood that all too often has had to deal with flooding. And some more video from Sky Tracker 5. Here's a church. This is on Bees Ferry Road. This church has also flooded, especially last year during Hurricane Matthew.
Right now, there are still thousands of people without power here in the Lowcountry. Nearly 10,000 people don't have power in Charleston County, another 6,500 in Beaufort County. You can see the outages here on the SCE&G outage map. Authorities say they are working hard to get that power back on, and all of Charleston County, they believe, should have power restored within the next 2 days. Remember, if you don't have power, you can watch us on your phone or on your tablet.
Right now, areas in West Ashley are trying to dry out after the storm yesterday. Colby Satterfield is here in West Ashley. Colby, how do things look where you are right now?
Debbie, there's a lot more drying out to happen here in West Ashley. We're right by Church Creek right now, and you can see cars can't even get home right now. And either which way you look, if we can turn around and walk this way with me, this cul-de-sac, I just talked with 2 families that live at the end of this, and they had to park their cars at the end, put on their waders, and walk out just so they can leave to go to the grocery store or get anything they need. And I also talked with a woman you can see who lives right at the end of this road. She said she's been flooding for the past 3 years, but yesterday was unlike any other year. She said the way the storm surge was coming in, they have the water in their backyard was rising so drastically. She said she would say it rose about a foot in just 15 minutes. This is a look at what some West Ashley communities are dealing with today as we continue to dry out. I'm live in West Ashley, Colby Satterfield, Live 5 News.
Colby, thank you. This afternoon, Governor McMaster announced he had lifted the evacuation order for several barrier islands on the South Carolina coast. Hilton Head, Defusky, Telefinny, and Knowles Islands have reopened for re-entry, but Harbor Island, Hunting Island, Fripp, and Edisto all have restricted access. DNR officials were accessing the islands by boat just to make sure everyone who decided to stay was safe.
Residents on Tybee Island woke up this morning to a good bit of damage. Raycom's Elizabeth Rollins has details from Georgia.
I'm standing here at one of the oceanfront properties on Tybee Island, and we're finally getting a first look at the damage. Check it out. You can see the balcony was completely wiped out from this top unit. Another one of the buildings, part of the roof is gone. And this time yesterday, this entire building was surrounded by water, including Highway 80, the main road leading out to Tybee Island. That finally reopened today after Georgia Department of Transportation had to inspect the bridges. But many folks here on Tybee are still without power. Reporting for the Raycom News Network, I'm Elizabeth Rollins.
Right now, many evacuees trying to get back home after Irma. Bill Walsh is keeping an eye on the roads right now. Bill, I-95 still a problem?
It's still a problem, still slow. It's just slow going. There's just a heavy volume out there. And in the low country, actually, things are looking pretty good. You know, this time of the day, this bridge right here will be full, right? Coming in and out of North Charleston over to Daniel Island and Mount Pleasant. But right now, things are good. Look at the green on the map. The only big problem will be certainly navigating around flooded areas like down by the Battery. So definitely try to avoid that area. Also, back up this way as you take a look towards, say, Lockwood and Gadsden over there toward Wentworth. Some of these usual spots that flood, we've got obviously you've seen the flooding on our video and our reporters that are out there. But Bill was talking about I-95. It's really slow, about 10, 12 miles an hour in some places, approaching 26 and coming back in as well from Columbia. So again, some of that heavy traffic there on I-95 and then back over this way toward the islands. Right now we're okay. Mount Pleasant though still has some slowdowns, and I think Long Point still closed. We'll double check on that one, but we'll keep you posted on that as you take a look at some of the well, some of the drive times, not bad. 26 looking very, very nice, about 19 minutes as you go from downtown to Somerville. And typically on a day like this, 5:26 would be a lot more jammed up, but looks pretty good right now. More coming up right here in this half hour.
The South Carolina Department of Health and Environmental Control wants you to report Tropical Storm Irma damage to authorities. Damage to beachfront structures, including any seawalls or walkovers, can be reported using the DHEC My Coast web and mobile app. Property owners should also report damage to structures, including homes, to local building authorities.
Even inland from the coast, many people saw damage from Irma. Carter Coyle has details from Somerville.
There is some traffic still moving on Sumter Avenue in Somerville here, but half the road is still blocked off after a tree fell on top of a power line. Dorchester County emergency officials tell us about 1,000 people are still without power throughout the county. At least 4 roads are still closed because of flooding like this from Irma yesterday, along with smaller residential roads that still have power lines down or a lot of debris to clean up. Meanwhile, a Citgo in Somerville ended up losing part of the roof that was hanging over its gas pumps. Neighbors tell me part of that awning was already gone, but the rest of it peeled off because of a strong wind gust yesterday about 1 o'clock.
We were afraid it was going to blow into the apartments, you know, that are adjacent to the gas station. So it was pretty quick, and it was just really, loud.
The county is still under a state of emergency. DD2 and DD4 schools will resume as normal tomorrow. In Somerville, Carter Coyle, Live 5 News.
I'm at Edisto Beach with the aftermath of Irma, where there's no power and limited access.
Heavy flooding here in Georgetown. We'll take a look at the cleanup efforts right after the break.
Right now, South Carolina highways busier than normal as thousands of evacuees are headed through our state, many of them going home to Georgia and Florida. Raycom's Chad Mills live off I-26 in Orangeburg with a look at how the traffic is flowing right now. Hi, Chad.
Hey, Bill, I would say the traffic is pretty spotty. That's probably the best word for it. On I-26 eastbound, I-95 southbound, even I-77 southbound, all of those interstates have seen some pretty severe congestion throughout the day in spots. I want to show you some video right now that kind of illustrates what we've been seeing out on South Carolina roads. This is I-26 eastbound in between Columbia and Orangeburg County. Traffic there at a complete standstill at times early this afternoon. Evacuees who were riding out Irma all over the place filled all three lanes of that interstate, and no doubt there were many Florida plates just about everywhere you looked. I caught up with a few of those evacuees at a rest stop in Calhoun County as they traveled back to a tattered Sunshine State.
Well, I talked to 3 or 4 of my friends, and there's a mess down there. There's just stuff tore up everywhere, from what they tell me. Goodrich's seafood place out on the water on the river just tore to pieces, they told me.
Now, during this mass migration period, the South Carolina Highway Patrol is preaching patience. Talking to a spokesman for that department a little while ago, he said that he believes the peak days of this migration will be today and into tomorrow. Live here along Orangeburg County, I'm Chad Mills for the Raycom News Network.
And people with homes in the town of Edisto Beach now have access to their homes as of 2 o'clock this afternoon. Now, this comes after an evacuation order for the town ahead of Irma. Town authorities are also allowing 2 people from each business and each property management agency to go back in. Our Alexis Simmons is live from a checkpoint at Edisto Beach. So, Alexis, what are people finding when they get there?
Right, you can actually see the people behind me who are checking in and coming back out, but a lot of people say they're not seeing as much damage as they saw with Hurricane Matthew. Now, there is sand over the roads, there is water on some of the roads, and there is no power on the town of Edisto Beach. But I want to show you this video that I took earlier today. They're not allowing us to go back as residents are in and out, but take a look at this. There's about 1 to 2 feet of sand covering Palmetto Boulevard. Edisto Beach Mayor Jane Darby says they put in protective sand dunes after Hurricane Matthew that were washed away by Irma's impacts. Now, she says things would have been worse had they not done that ahead of time. And there were 6 people and 1 dog that were rescued during the storm, and a car stalled out filled with the family inside, and emergency responders got them out safely. The chief of police says this storm involved more water, while Hurricane Matthew had more wind and more damage altogether. Officials here want residents to know that they need to bring water and food for several days if they plan on staying here, and they also want them to know that the water actually will be shut off at a certain point today, and after it is shut off, there will be a boil water advisory, so people need to be aware of that. But it's also important to remember that people are still accessing that damage. So, you know, the conditions are quite dangerous, and they want people to look out for those down power lines. But there is a curfew in place tonight that starts at 8 o'clock, and it will go until 7 o'clock in the morning. I'm live near Edisto Beach. Alexis Simmons, Live 5 News.
Now, your first alert forecast from Live 5 News.
All right, Alexis, thanks so much. As we track, of course, what's happened with Irma, that's now gone. What's left of that storm out across a big chunk of the south, which is still raining in parts of Georgia, Alabama, on into Mississippi, even Arkansas, back in the north parts of Louisiana. This reach of the storm is just incredible, as we know. Let me show you what's happening outside. It's just beautiful out there. We just have some scattered clouds, a little breezy, but nice, comfortable temperatures from Georgetown to Moncks Corner down to Walterboro. We do have one advisory, and that's for a high surf advisory, and that's going going to continue here till about 8 o'clock tonight. So if you are along the beaches, be still very careful out there in the surf. Live picture of the Ashley Marina. A lot of the boats look pretty good. Again, as you take a look along the anchorages and whatnot, we're looking at a temperature sitting at 80 degrees. Southwest wind at about 9. Nice to see that wind a little bit lighter today. Let's go up to Georgetown and Pawleys Island in Litchfield by the Sea and out toward Andrews again right now. Looking very, very nice on Front Street and about 81 degrees. It's been an afternoon there. And again, as we continue to take a look around the low country, 82 up at Kingstree, 79 Monk's Corner. And as we look down toward North Charleston and Beaufort, some upper 70s to near 80, 77 out in Walterboro. Hour by hour, if you're heading out this evening, do a little shopping, maybe you just want to take a walk. Maybe just do a little, maybe catch a movie. Looking to be nice, upper 70s for the most part. By 7 o'clock, 77, 8 o'clock, 75, still about 72 by 10 o'clock tonight. The weather map's got what's left of Irma out there, non-tropical now, weak boundary out ahead of it, but for the most part, I think we're going to be looking good. There's a little piece of energy might want to come out of the Gulf. Doesn't look like it's going to be a big problem as far as shower activity. So as we show you first what to expect into tomorrow for your first alert, back to work and school for a lot of people, 6 o'clock in the morning. Again, maybe a few clouds, maybe a little bit of patchy fog, a lot of moisture still stuck on the ground, in the ground as we head for lunchtime. Not bad. We'll call it a mixture of sun and clouds to partly cloudy. And even into the afternoon looks nice. So overnight we're going 67, mainly clear, a little patchy fog. On the flip side, 88, lots of sunshine, a little warmer as we head for tomorrow, but still, again, we're looking at some nice weather, partly cloudy on the waterways. Looking at a southwest wind at about 5 to 10, high tide in the afternoon. By the way, I want to remind you, that tide we had the other day was 6.2 feet. These tides over the next 4, 5, 6 days are going to be pretty high. So I'm not expecting inundation with that because the wind's going to be a little more from a different direction out of the becoming southwest and south. But again, just be mindful the tides are running high. Rip current's still dangerous out there. Water temperature, interesting enough, is down in the mid 70s. So the storm came up, and not only the motion of the winds and the waves and certainly some upwelling to the southeast of us has brought the water temperature down a little bit to the mid 70s. We were talking about Jose off the top of the show, and again, pretty disorganized, although trying to get some life back into it with the storm sheared in many levels, but again, looks like we'll continue to track that as we look at the numbers, and the forecast track takes it as a Cat 1, maybe a little bit stronger once it recurves and does this loop. And the good news is at this hour, most of the models, 2 good ones in particular, continue to take it away from the U.S., so we'll keep you posted on Jose. Your weekend is always first on our minds and your mind. That's why we always start with it. So let's talk about Friday, 87 degrees. Good-looking Friday. Now, it's going to be a little warmer the next couple of days. Saturday, 87. Sunday, 85. So we do stay warm right into the upcoming weekend, but tomorrow 88, so still a little toasty out there. Thursday 87. We talked about the weekend, beginning part of next week, maybe a few more clouds at this point. We're not putting many showers in the forecast. There's just not a lot of moisture at this time, which is really good. We'll take that for sure. Now, what about traffic? Let's check that out. Boy, today has been quiet. You know, a lot of people didn't work, a lot of schools out. Right. So as we take a look at first alert traffic, a lot of green on the map. The only real problems are the flooded areas and a few breakdowns here and there. But downtown, again, very careful. Avoid this area as it continues to empty out. A lot of folks are going to be, emptying, bringing stuff out on the sidewalk. So definitely have a heart and be careful with those folks that are trying to get around those flooded areas. And then Wentworth between Lockwood and Gadsden we're still looking at. Plus back here, I-95, we just showed a picture. We saw that backed up not only I-95, but 26, very slow going right there at that intersection. When we come back in our next half hour, we'll have another look at traffic. Of course, right here, live at 5.
Thank you, Bill. Right now, the water is receding, but the tempers are rising in a Ladson neighborhood flooded by Irma. Harv Jacobs live in Tranquil Estates. Harv, for these folks, the third time is not the charm.
Bill, they were flooded by the 1,000-year flood in 2015 and by Hurricane Matthew last year. This time it is Irma. We want to show you what it looked like earlier today. Here, Carolina Wren Drive and the surrounding streets, well, they were turned into a lake. Residents couldn't leave the neighborhood in their cars. The water was almost up to the mailboxes. Some people say they may have to make some tough choices.
The sad thing is I don't know what we're going to do unless we were to move. And that would solve everything for us.
I reached out to Dorchester County officials to find out what they're going to do to alleviate the flooding here or even help the residents. Their answer coming up new at 6. Live in Ladson, Harv Jacobs, Live 5 News.
Georgetown's main strip of shops and restaurants saw significant flooding during the storm yesterday, and even more during the second high tide overnight. Sydney Ryan is live on Front Street in the heart of downtown Georgetown. Sydney, how are things looking today?
Debbie, things are looking a lot better. As you can see behind me, things are looking completely normal. I talked to some shop owners and they say the community was out here early this morning helping everyone clean up. And as I drove in here, it was hard to tell that a storm even hit here in Georgetown. But take a look at this side-by-side footage. On one side, you can see footage shot less than 24 hours ago, with flooding and up to your knees in some areas. And on the right side, video that was shot within the last hour. What a huge difference. Unfortunately, there were a few shops near Orange Street on Front Street that did get some flooding damage.
It's not as bad as it was for the last two. This is really, I'm very blessed. I just had to take everything out so I could clean.
Baker Cohen plans to reopen her shop within a day or two, and as you can see right there behind me at the 700 Grill, there are still a few shops that have some sandbags out as they await the final concerning high tide today. For now, reporting live from Georgetown, I'm Sydney Ryan, Live 5 News.
All right, we have an eye on your traffic, and we're continuing to watch those drive times. Right now looking pretty quiet and good on the major highways, except I-95 26 up around that Frank Culbertson intersection, which is up there by Holly Hill. But as you take a look right now, downtown to Somerville looks good, and back on up into, say, coming into town, as well as, of course, 526. Usually it's a lot more, but again, it's those intersections like 95 and 26, some of those major highways trying to get up and down the southeast. More coming up right here in the next half hour.
JetBlue working to help Florida residents get home as quickly as possible. The discounted flights they're offering in the aftermath of Irma.